Well, talk about a bunch of winners. This is what my colleagues at eNCA are. Well, they scooped several awards at the Vodacom Journalist of the Year Awards, and our KZN team, consisting of senior reporter Dasen Thathiah, cameraman Nkanyiso, Mdlalose and Sandile Makhubela, and video editor Susanna Holmes, won the live or breaking news category for their stellar coverage of the KZN floods. Sports reporter Hloni Mtimkulu scooped the national prize for her powerful coverage, including child abuse in sport. They join us now in studio to tell us how they feel about this awards. Congratulations, guys! How are you feeling, Hloni? How are you feeling this morning?
Geez, okay. I didn't even know what to say, but I'm happy. I think it's like we work under all sorts of very weird and strange conditions, and women in sport, etc. You know, so I think it's a great validation, and it's a journalism award, a proper journalism award. So I think that's great validation for me. So I think, I am happy.
Absolutely. And today being, the start of 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children, you winning this award, I mean, it just shows how important the work that we do and you did in highlighting these issues. But for you, Dasen, as well, and the team, it wasn't easy covering the KZN floods. I mean, you spoke to so many people affected. What does this award actually mean to the work that you did?
I think it's so bittersweet for me, and I think my teammates probably share the same feeling as well because of the nature of the work that we were doing at that time. So this recognition is great, but it also reminds me of the type of stories that we told. You know, there was a lot of pain during that time, and particularly for us who come from that province.
Yeah. And for
so
you?
It's just a reminder of that. Absolutely.
And also, I think for Sandile as well, and Nkanyiso, I mean, you also worked on these stories alongside Dasen. I mean, this award also cementing how important is it to continue holding government accountable. I mean, it's 2022 November, still, those affected by the floods still need some support, even though those, tragic events happen only in April.
Yeah, every time I was actually telling Nobi the other day, we were doing a story where to go to flood victims, and I was saying, like, it's actually tiring now to actually hear that tomorrow we're going to a hall and we're going to be speaking to like flood victims, and this thing happened like back in April. So I don't know how Sandile feels.
Somehow because we have to go to these people almost all the time. They see our faces, but unfortunately when we leave there, we go to our homes and take warm bath and shower, but they left in the buses and halls. So it feels really, really bad sometimes when you go there. So this recognition actually boosts the morale,
Let's talk about the competition. Was there competition at the Vodacom Journalist of the Year Awards? I mean, some of our colleagues in other media houses equally doing amazing work. What also stood out for you in terms of what other colleagues and our peers are doing out there? Because it is a collective effort, right? In terms of making sure that we do inform our viewers.
Yeah, so I think with sport, people traditionally think, and everyone just thinks it's sport, what's happening on the field, it's the World Cup, who's playing and that sort of thing. But there is more to sport than just what's happening on the field. And I think that is kind of because also we're a news channel, so you're not just covering the results, the matches, the fixtures, and you're covering all the other things that are happening behind the scenes. And some of that stuff isn't nice to cover. So like the abuse in sport, that's not nice to cover. No one wants to talk about that. We talk about GBV and all these things, and it's happening in sport. You're letting your child go to gymnastics or to whatever sport, and then all of these things happen. So, and it's awkward because now you're asking people, but why is this happening? What are you doing with this thing? Federations and that sort of thing. So I think that kind of differentiates, I guess, in a way from what generally is happening and what's generally thought to be sport. So,
I saw some of the categories in some of the stories, whether it's investigative journalism, whether it's live coverage, etc. I often wondered, do we go for enough counseling? Our mental health. You mentioned this, Sandile, as well, that it feels bad having to do a story, not being able to lay a hand. Your job is to document the reality, but not necessarily there's much you could do in terms of helping. What does it take, Nkanyiso, to actually cover some of the stories you do live and on the minute, on the go, and from one point to another, one tragic story to another? What toll does it take on you as a professional?
I generally always count on Dasen, and the reporters, because at the end of the day we're a team. So sometimes as we drive into the story, we actually cancel each other because for the first time, for example, during the unrest, I actually kind of broke down. I actually cried because of a scene that I went past, and when Sandile went to go cover that story, I realized that those same people, those bodies that we saw, we actually drove past him, but we didn't know what was happening at the time.
Right.
So when he came back and I saw the footage, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually saw those guys. And that I broke down.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it can be hectic, but if you're in a good team, it helps.
Teamwork helps. And Dasen, for you, I mean, you have to keep your composure while reporting on these stories.
It's true, and I think that is a very important word there, because I always talk about TV journalism like a three-legged race, and I say that you can only move as far as your team members will go with you, you know, and that's exactly what we do. So every step of the way, we are bolstered by the people that we work with, not just in person, but also everywhere else in the company as well. And all of that helps, those conversations, and it keeps you going, because ultimately we have a huge responsibility. And we mustn't forget when we have these awards that we're telling people's stories. And the reason we're here now is because people allowed us to tell those stories, and they trusted us to tell those stories.
Right.
So this is also a reminder of that for me.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned the word responsibility, because Sandile, I wanted to ask if this award, rather, it's now a more greater responsibility to maintain credibility, because now you have been recognized as someone that's trustworthy, credible, go-to source for information for you personally. Is it more pressure? Is it more validation? What does it mean in terms of the responsibility you now bear as a professional in media?
No, it does put a bit of pressure to us as a team, because I believe in the team thing. I don't believe that I can do this all by myself. I need my team to be there with me in everything that I do. But it does put a pressure. It does say you need to upper the game. You need to upper the level now, because you can't keep on doing the same thing that you did. I mean, it's another year. It's a different year. Yeah. So I'm sure the bar is already up there. So it does put a bit of pressure.
In my last question to you all, and I mean, anyone can jump into this, and this is a very important question, by the way, as Gareth would say. So because we put titles before some of our senior reporters' names, are you all award-winning, Hloni, award-winning? Will I get, lambasta if I don't say award-winning, Sandile? What do you prefer now?
I'm changing my Twitter bio now.
Oh, you're changing your bio?
Yes.
And you guys, you're still fine. Or you're being humble about it?
Yeah. We're good. Always humble.
Sandile, Dasen, Nkanyiso, Hloni, congratulations. We're so proud of you. Such an inspiration, even to us as your colleagues. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing this great news with us. Our award-winning eNCA team, Dasen Thathiah, Nkanyiso, Mdlalose, Sandile, Makhubela, and Hloni Mtimkulu, absolutely proud of the work they do, encouraging, of course, all other media professionals to keep integrity with the work that they do. And we congratulate them on the Vodacom Journalist of the Year Awards.